Hi, everybody. It's your host of Freedom to Fight, and you're a mess. And I have another exciting episode to share with you. I know it's been so long, um, and I am really excited about sharing this episode and so much more content. I have so many episodes backed up, but now I can start working on that. Many of you know that I've been through a lot of changes from being harassed and stalked and all sorts of things that come along with being a public figure and speaking your truth. And just think that being in a very white neighborhood and state, and just it's just a lot of different experiences that delayed me. But I'm glad to be back. I'm really grateful for your support, and I think you'll really love this episode. Episode 14, season 3. Oh my goodness. Almost to season 4, but not quite yet. My next guest is David Wood Bartley. No. My next guest is David Woods Bartley, a dear friend of mine and a dear soul. He has gone through quite a bit throughout his life, and he is vulnerable enough to share his stories. I know that you'll love this episode, but I do want to warn my listeners that we talk about some trauma. Yeah, David's trauma. So it's sensitive subjects. We talk about suicide and sexual assault. And I just want to kind of give you a warning. I don't want to deter anybody, because I think we need to have these hard conversations so that we can heal and prevent things like this. So I encourage you to listen, even if it's hard. Take breaks, but come back and listen to our great conversation. I think that it will really make a great impact on you. David is a TED Talk speaker ×2. I will link his TED Talks in the description so you can check those out. He's the co-owner of an animal sanctuary. I love animals so much, and I really have so much love and respect for anybody that animals and tries to take care of animals, for sure. David's stories are very impactful, and I think that you'll find them to be helpful in any circumstance. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you episode 14 of season 3, David Woods Bartley. Thank you so much for listening. Hi, everybody. It's your host of Freedom to Fight, and you're a Mathis. And I have a new exciting guest on my show, David Woods Bartley, TED Talk speaker ×2. Super excited to talk to you about your TED Talks and what that experience is like. I love TED so much. Also had a nonprofit organization to help seniored and disabled dogs in some way live and have good lives until they transitioned. And you have some wonderful personal stories that I'm looking forward to listening to.
Nora, thank you so much. And again, just love your name. And hopefully it's rolling off my lips in a way that is empowering. Yeah, it's interesting because I run into people and we talk about relationships and things like that. Not just, your one and only. But Nora, what I can tell you is there is not a part of my life, and by whatever degree that you would move out, that does not have at least one extraordinary human being in it. I mean, I am literally that blessed to have this. It's almost, I mean, I'm not embarrassed, but I know sometimes that I run into people who don't have like maybe even a single relationship. And here I am blessed. I mean, my former bride who ran the animal sanctuary together is one of my closest friends. And I don't know how many people, can say that. And
Yeah.
I give all credit to Deanna just for that. So I am such an honor to be here today.
I can't wait to pick your brain. I'm sure things will just organically come up, but yeah. So, where to start? Should we start with TED?
Sure.
I love
Absolutely.
TED so much. TED Talks. So I am a mental health professional. I'm a trauma therapist, and one of the first jobs that I had in my field was in foster care. So I started working in group homes first. Then I kind of transitioned through all the programs, doing like transports for foster care children that were going on home visits, visits to see their biological parents or being relocated to a new foster home. I did a lot of different things, but one of the last jobs that I had in that program was really like a lot of desk work. And I can't I like research and I like things that where I have to think deeply, but it wasn't hands-on. I wasn't helping people as directly as I was. And so I was bored at work a lot. And I was listening. I discovered TED Radio Hour. And it just literally changed. I enjoyed my job after that because I could listen while I was working and filing all of these incredible stories. I was like, this is what I'm missing. I need to go and get my master's degree and like get going with this. So TED Talks have a special place in my heart. So I'm looking forward to talking about yours.
True. Absolutely.
So you have two.
I have two. Yep.
Yeah. So the one that I was listening to a bit earlier, one about swimming.
Yeah. So I had done, by the time I did my first TED Talk, I had been speaking a little bit, not a tremendous amount. And the speaking came in when Deanna and I had the sanctuary and we became a 501c3. So we had literally as many as 100 animals at any one time. So we had 25 horses, we had 23 dogs, all of whom lived in the house. We had 9 potbelly pigs. We had goats and sheep and ducks and geese and bunnies and birds and turtles and fish. I mean, we literally at one point had as many as 15 different species. And for an animal being, an animal soul to come to the sanctuary to be ushered in, they had to be really, really sick. They had to have been tortured or abused or missing limbs or blind or deaf or dying. So we took the ones nobody wanted. And in this, I give, forgive me, all credit to my beloved former bride. She was a mama bear. And so we did no adoptions. We didn't. So animals came and they stayed until they made their transition. And in all the years that we did the work, we had 90 animals move from this earthly experience to what lies beyond. And at one point on June 2nd, 2010, we were the half-page cover story in the life section of USA Today.
Wow.
It was extraordinary. And yet 14 short months later, I stood on a dark spot on a 730-foot tall bridge, leaning over, about to kill myself. The monster known as clinical depression that I had fought for basically all of my life, and I was 49 years old at the time, had convinced me that I was worthless and useless and stupid and pitiful and grotesque and ugly. I had no redeeming value. And equal to the power that this illness, this thing has over way too many of our brothers and sisters was what I believed, not what I thought, not what I felt. What I believed was if I killed myself, everybody would be better off without them. And there's an incredible chef, David Chang, who I'm sure you probably know. And the chef is an amazing soul. And the chef has fought depression and bipolar and for many, many years. And he has this incredible quote that I use all the time in trying to help people understand what it's like for somebody like me. And here's what the chef says. and this is imagine me leaning over a rail on a 730-foot tall bridge. What the chef says is, when you're depressed, you're convinced that everything you think is true. It's like, bingo. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not, you're not out of your mind. You're not stupid. You're not. It's you believe it. That's what you believe.
You're certainly not stupid. You're certainly not out of your, you know, I mean, somebody experiencing depression and severe clinical depression, like you shared, that's not, someone's not weak or lazy, or it's just not an experience that is collectively felt. It's an isolating experience. You're right. So it's not like somebody on the street would really know, unless they were really, really they knew you or cared about you in some way, to kind of look into these details. People that haven't experienced depression, oh my goodness, I'm glad, you know, I've experienced plenty of depression throughout my lifetime, and it is not, it's not easy to overcome, and it's
No.
not. It's if you don't have control over your mind, you really truly don't have control over anything.
No, exactly. You don't. It's just, and so in the work that I do now, and in the first TED Talk, and really in the second one as well, what I do is I take the larger genre of mental illness and mental health, and I like to divide the two, because a lot of times we just say, okay, well, let's talk about mental health. Well, wait, mental health is the goal. That's what we want. See, I think people don't even want to say the term mental illness. Like, let's start by, like, at least can we just say it's here? Here it is. So what life has given me, Honora, the ability, and I give all credit to life, however we define that, is to use, as I don't know how many I have. It's probably close to 30 or more animal stories from the sanctuary that I use to talk about mental illness and mental health. And it may seem like a stretch, but it really isn't. And the stories are just, they're fabulous. They're just so great. And I'm not saying they're great because of me. They're not.
I'm excited.
But they make, so I'll give you an example. So I'm trying to think if so my base talk is called The Why of Suicide and the How of Hope. And so it's roughly an hour. First half is devoted to two questions. One, what happened? Like, dear God, how did you go from being in USA Today to leaning over the rail of a 730-foot tall bridge? Second question is, what's it feel like? What's it, not what you're saying, what's it feel like? And then it pivots, like, okay, well, what do you do to be well? What you do to be well is you put your self-care on a pedestal, is what you do. And then what can we do in regards to this thing called suicide? What can we do? Is there anything we can do? So my belief, based on experience, and this is in both TED Talks, is that connection creates hope, and hope saves lives. People won't kill themselves when they feel hope. And my eldest brother, who's like my dad, who I could talk for hours about this soul, he's a retired 2-star general. So everything's got to be tangible. And it's interesting, and I would think, and maybe I'll ask you the question, connection as a buzzword, as a phenomenon, is very prevalent right now, but no one ever defines it. No one, so I use one of your own, one of another Honora, Brene Brown, in which she says, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and they derive strength and sustenance from the relationship. Okay, mic drop. Like, Like, depression can't live in that space.
Amazing.
Oh, and so are you. Depression can't live in that space. It
To be
doesn't.
compared to her is amazing. Dr. Brene Brown is in Houston, Texas. And I applied to the program there just because she was there. And I was like, okay, maybe I can walk down the hall with her.
Oh my God. And so people, it's because you don't hear people defining connection. And so it's interesting. So that you can't argue with that definition. That definition is
It's a research. It's a measurable definition.
Right. Exactly.
Because she's a researcher. Yeah,
Right.
she's ensuring that it's actually true scientifically.
So
Yeah,
there's where my dad, my brother, the general, says, okay, yeah, right, that's tangible. So then what I would say is, so right now I feel connected with you. I feel seen, heard, valued by you. I have to work really, really hard to experience any other emotion except hope in this space. But then it's like, okay, but no one ever defines hope. So you know what the definition is out of the dictionary? The feeling, love that, the feeling that what is wanted can be had. Like,
Say it one more time. Sorry.
The feeling that what is wanted can be had.
Yeah.
It's
possibility.
Right. It's attainable. It's doable. It's achievable. So then so my theory, I'm not clinical. I'm not smart. I'm just a guy to tell stories. I'll share with you.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't argue with the definition of connection from Dr. Brown. You can't. You can't argue with the definition in the dictionary. You can't. So then, okay, then if I'm suicidal and I come to be with Anura, and Anura creates this sacred space in which I feel seen, heard, and valued, where I can give and receive without judgment, and I derive strength and sustenance for my weary soul from the relationship, I'm not going to kill myself. Not in that moment. Not in that moment. And so then what I go on to do is then the question becomes, okay, hard to argue with any of that. Then the question becomes, okay, then what's the missing piece? The missing piece is, how do you create connection with other people? Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked the question. So there's where I teach people. I say, look, I'm going to teach you 3 things. I can teach you more that you can do anytime, any place, anywhere, on every day for the rest of your life. You can do this. And there's where these animal stories are just like, so I'll share with you real quick. So the first method that I teach is recognition. And so what I say to people, Honora, I said, become great at remembering people's names. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Know their names. We know what it's like when someone remembers our name and we had no expectation that they knew who we were, and they say, David, my God, it's so great to see you. It's just like, even people who I know my name, how it feels for me when they say it.
Yeah.
And so then I teach a quick method, PARA, say first thing, pause, stop, just slow your roll. Next, ask, hi, my name's David. What is your name? My name is Anura. Like, then I would, okay, let me spell it. So I would probably say ANNURA, and you say, no, only one N. Like, okay, thank you. All right. I always spell it. You can spell Jeff 2 different ways. I have a friend named Greg who does 2 G's. So Michelle, sometimes 1 L, 2 L. And the Michelles with 1 L will always tell you, thank you so much for asking. They will always say that to you. And then, so PAR is repeat. Am I saying it right? Am I saying it right? And then create an association. So let me give you an animal story. So we became very well known for taking in the animals that nobody wanted, and particularly about old Boston Terriers. So there was an animal shelter in Sacramento, and the veterinarian there was Dr. Margaret Wright. And so Nora, one day she called us and she said, "Hi guys, I have this grand old lady, this Boston, who's well into her teens, and she's not in the best of health, and nobody wants her, and I just don't have it in me to put her to sleep. Do you have room for her?" And we said, "Absolutely. Of course we do. You know, $22, what's 23? Doesn't matter." So
Yeah.
we go down there, and sure enough, we see Dr. Wright, who we love. And here is this beautiful older Boston Terrier, just this, like a regal queen. Before we could say anything, she says, "I've named her Ruth." And I was like, "Oh,
Interesting.
okay." And before I could ask what was the story, you know, what inspired her, she said, "I named her Ruth." And then she got really emotional and she had to pause. She said, "I named her Ruth because I wanted her to have respect, understanding, truth, and honor." When we remember people's names, that is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
We respect them. We seek to understand them. We're looking for the truth of who they are so we can honor their essence. That's what we do. So that's one of the stories, which makes me cry every time I tell it.
You know what? I'm like, it's like right at the brim, and I'm like, keep it at why? It's okay. I felt like in talking to you, I'm just gonna the floodgates are gonna open, because that's kind of what happened when I was watching the first TED Talk. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be crying all day. I had some sensation last night, so I'm grateful to talk to you about your very personal and vulnerable experiences with suicide and mental health and mental illness, like you were mentioning, the difference between the two. We all have mental health, but it turns into mental illness when it's not functioning correctly. So for ourselves or others or both. But I've had some experience with suicidal ideation and attempts with people in my life and completions. And I've also had a wonderful, amazing guest on my show, Gina Cavalier, the liberated healer. She's suffered with suicide ideation most of her entire life and wrote a book about it that's she just published. I'll share that with you.
Please
once
do.
we get off here. But there's a place in my heart to bring more awareness and healing around this, because it's not, people don't like to talk about things like this. It's really hard for people to talk about something so heavy, but it's an aspect of our human experience to have lows, and what those lows look like really matter. Like, we need to have the right kind of support for people so that they don't make a permanent decision in a temporary situation. That's what Gita says. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. I should tell my listeners, I don't think I've ever said this before, because my name is not very common. I should tell my listeners how to pronounce my name. I don't think I've ever done this. So my name is Anura Mathis. You can pronounce it so many different ways, but the ANU in many different cultures, so Asian cultures and Spanish-speaking cultures, typically pronounce my name Anura. The ANU is like, it means a gem or charm. That's what it translates to, a gem or a charm or a jewel. So you can either pronounce it Anura, or if that's too hard for you, which is too hard for most people, you can pronounce it like this, like Anura. So AN-YOUR-A. Yes, there's jokes that come along with that, but Anura is how I typically say it, and I'm comfortable with either way.
Whatever you say, stove.
It's Steve.
Doe. What kind of name is that?
Well, that's not a name. My name is Steve.
Are you an appliance?
No, I'm a man, and my name is Steve.
You're a flight attendant.
That's absolutely accurate. You can close that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. I'm glad that I took a minute to do that, but it is very true that when somebody takes the time to learn how to say my name, I do feel seen. I do feel connected with them. I don't feel like they just were uncomfortable with that interaction because my name is unique, and it does make me feel special. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I feel like I've missed a step in what you were sharing with me. I got recognition and then your acronym. Is there a third step that I'm missing?
So it's recognition, understanding, and expression.
Okay.
So
I think I missed it. Yeah.
So to recognize somebody, and I think the easiest way is remember their name. And then, I think of the three, understanding is probably the most powerful. And what I ask people, Anora, to do is for the rest of from this moment on, is to never again ask a why question. Never again. Change it to a what question. Because why, if you think about, like, every why question at its core is soliciting, if not mandating, a justification. Whereas a what question at its core is inviting, different than mandating, inviting a sharing. So you could just say, as opposed to, why did you do that? Hey, what inspired you to do that? Totally different question. You're not avoiding, you're not dancing around anything. And so the short version of the story that I always tell is an old man, 80 plus years old, walked into another animal shelter with an old basset hound mix and went up to the shelter worker and said, hey, I was out on my daily walk and I found this dog. And I checked him kind of head to toe for identification. And he has nothing on him. And I thought I should just bring him in here. And the shelter worker was like, oh my God, thanks, sir. Thank you. Like, wow. Most people wouldn't do that. So she said, I'm going to take him in the back. He's old. They really didn't microchip back, I would imagine. It's pretty unusual, but who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky. If while we're in the back, could you just please fill out information, just your name and telephone number and where you found the dog, just in case we need to get in touch with you. Sure enough, shelter worker takes the dog in the back. Old man fills out the information. She comes back and she says, oh my God, he is microchipped. You have saved it. You have saved his life. Thank you. And the man is getting ready to leave. And just as he's walking out, the woman looks at the piece of paper and notices that the information that the man filled out is the same information on the microchip. So in other words, this is his dog. Now, I'll be honest. I'm a guy that takes care of dying old animals. Yeah. I'd open up a can of Texas whoop ass, like, but here's what the shelter worker did. One question, which I would not have had it in me to ask. I'd have been, why? You know, the question that nurse she asked was, sir, what happened? Yeah. And at that point, the man burst into tears. And when he could finally collect himself, he said, this is Joshua. I've had Joshua for 16 years. There is nothing more important than my dog. But I'm dying. And I'm being forced into a medical facility. And I begged and I pleaded. He said, I promised, I offered to pay, but they wouldn't let me take my dog. And I was afraid if I brought him in here and I told you the truth, then you would put him to sleep. And I know he's not ready. And because of the question because of this soul's desire to understand, to know that what she was seeing was not the whole story. When she found out because of her what question, she said, "Sir, there's a sanctuary down the hill. And they take in old dogs just like Joshua. How about we pick up the phone and call them and see if they have room?" And I will never forget taking Joshua in my arms and remember this beautiful man, both of us like me right now, crying, because I do every time I tell this story.
Sure.
He said, "Please take care of my boy." And I said, "Sir, I promise." And Joshua got to live the next 6 months of his life,
Yeah.
passing away peacefully in his sleep. And or just think about it, all because one person she only asked one question. What if we could do that? When we see stuff we don't understand,
Yeah.
we ask what, not why. And then let somebody share.
The what question invites compassion. It's not. It's not what you were saying. Why require is this justification? It requires justification. Like it's an accusation. It's like, why are you doing this, or why are you living this way? Or, I mean, the human beings judge. It's part of our makeup, but it doesn't mean we need to judge in such a way to isolate people and to degrade people. And I knew I was going to get super. How am I going to make it through? But I love animals so much.
Aren't they
My
just
goodness.
with these? Let me tell you another quick story.
Sure.
Oh, you know what a fainting goat is? If you Google fainting goat, it's like a medium-sized goat. It's not and what happens is when they get startled, they like go instant rigor mortis and fall over like they're dead. I know it is the darndest thing. So people would come to the sanctuary. People would come to the sanctuary and they'd say, "Will you make the goats faint?" I said, "No, I'm not going to make the goats faint. They'll faint on their own." But here's so we as human beings, we have I have special needs. I do. I've lived with depression and PTSD for 50 years. I was raped by a Boy Scout leader when I was 12. And that was the genesis of this whole nightmare. And life can trigger me and I freeze. But you know what would happen? This is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Every single time that the goats would freeze, when they would get triggered and they would go down, and in that case, of course, they're in maximum vulnerability. You know what the horses would do? They would form a circle around them and just stand there.
Interesting.
They were just
Protecting.
yes. So I have me. I have people in my life, lots of them, who encircled me. And this last year has been really hard because at the end of last year, I fell into a depression, the worst of my entire life, which made no sense. Because as a therapist, you would be very proud of me because I never miss a day of medication or therapy or group or anything. And so my two North Stars, my beloved, my eldest brother, did research and everything else. What can we do for our beloved David? And he got me into ECT.
Okay.
So, an electroconvulsive therapy
I
has
say that.
has changed my life. It has been, I've done 34 sessions. My last was a week ago.
Wow. Your last. Okay.
Well, no, my most recent.
Oh, your most recent. Okay.
No, it'll probably continue for, I'm fine with it for the rest of my life. I don't care. I love it. I love it. I love the people that do it. They're amazing. Yeah. So I'm encircled like the horses encircled the goats. My family, my friends, my Anoras of my life encircle me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you speak so beautifully. It's very poetic, and thank you for making all of those connect. I mean, I know you're sharing the message in that way because you're showing that there's a connection there, but it's a very unique way of speaking. I really enjoy it. I really feel very connected with you as well. And I would be as your therapist, I guess, like I would be proud of you regardless, because there's a lot of people that don't. I am truly a therapist. Like I know that I've gone through a lot of training. We could talk about that, but I naturally can make connections with anybody. It's not challenging for me to do this with anybody. And it's because I'm leaving the space open. I'm asking the what questions instead of the why. And I'm just allowing that space. I don't feel like I try to offer unconditional love to everybody. So if you were my client and you missed some sessions or you terminated sessions with me, or there's nothing you could do to change that, though. That's what I'm trying to say. That you're not only do you have that, but you are continuing this path that is challenging for everybody. But I feel like even more so for men, because we don't live in a culture where it's really okay for you to talk about your feelings and for you to cry. And those are the things you need the most. You need to have a space where it's safe to do that. So this is a safe space to do that. I am very proud of you. I'm very inspired by you. I'm crying with you too. Like I don't feel like you need to do anything else to earn or anything else. You don't need to do anything to earn unconditional love. And I feel like when people think just the opposite of that, that's what creates depression. It's that thought pattern that comes from trauma. You just shared significant traumas with me. That's to me, because I'm a trauma therapist, I see mental illness through that lens. That's where the depression came from my perspective. But we're just now meeting each other, and I'm learning some of your stories. So of course I could be incorrect, but from my philosophy, that's in our childhood. It's not just having a big T trauma, like they say, like being sexually assaulted, it's the betrayal of the elder. It's a lot of things surrounding that trauma, but trauma can be that you were neglected, that you were not just that a parent left, but a parent may be around physically, but emotionally they're not available. So that's another form of neglect or abandonment. I've experienced that a lot. That's a trauma, to feel like you're not valued enough as a human being to get your parents' attention, love and attention. That will scar you for life, but it can be healed. And I see that you are on a healing journey. You're healing your trauma. That's amazing.
No, and thank you very much for all of that. Thank you. Interesting. I have a friend. There's two former military. One was a soldier. One was worked in the Coast Guard, and they both had suffered terrible moral injury, which is a whole nother. And my friend Ryan we were just having a conversation the other day, and he had this incredible statement. And he said, David, trauma doesn't know time.
Mm.
And I'm like, whoa. I said, brother, do you realize? I said, where did you realize what you just said?
Yeah.
That is like one of the most profoundly accurate. That's like Chef Chang's, when you're depressed, you're convinced that everything you think is true. Like trauma doesn't know time. I mean, brother, what you said, I'm going to share with people because, you know, when someone says something, just like you said to me right now, and it puts words to a belief or a feeling or something else that's never been, you're like, oh my God, I've seen, heard, valued. Just like, oh, wow, man, that's incredible.
It is. And it's needed. It sounds so simple, but that's a paradigm shift. Like when I think of trauma, I guess I can say any sort of mental illness, any diagnosis, but I'll just say trauma right now. PTSD, CPTSD. It's a different reality. It's like imagining yourself being outside of your current reality, whatever that is. Put trauma over here, put your current reality over here if you're not experiencing the trauma, or rather, maybe just your ideal reality over here. So you're the observer, you're on the outside, and you can just like peek your head in over into the trauma and see what that feels like. It's like an energy field. It sucks you into it, just like depression. You're in, it has a hold on you and it's heavy. You're carrying bricks. It's like, what is happening? I am not able to even move around in my reality the way that I know I can. Like I'm slowed down, I'm sluggish, I'm eating too much or eating too little, or sleeping too much or sleeping too little. And I don't find any enjoyment in what I normally enjoy. Like joy in life is essential. So being disconnected from joy, that is absolutely an alternate reality. And then peek your head over into the ideal situation. You can just compare. Like, what's the happiest moment of my life? Go experience that. Sit with your eyes closed, deep breathing, and just imagine you being in that experience. And then take yourself out of it and then peek over there. You can feel the difference. It's an alternate reality. And of course, those messages are going to communicate something different in that traumatic reality. That is not sustainable. Something's going to break. You can't. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go.
I just wanted to say, like, it's like gray. When I'm visualizing it now, it's like being gray. Like it's cloudy. It's like, it's kind of like humid and wet, and it's almost like the land is barren. Like you couldn't grow any plants. You say, yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say, so there's, when I talk about in the beginning part of my speech, what happened, and I said it was me, it was at the confluence of genetics and trauma. So our birth father, I'm the youngest of 4 boys, our birth father died when he was just 42 years old, which is just like, ooh, and he died of cancer, but he also had debilitating clinical, life-sucking, soul-killing depression. And my grandfather, his father, had killed himself. So there's definitely, all 4 of us are right in the line of genetics, but my 3 beloved older brothers, they don't have any experience of depression. Thank God they don't. What happened to David? David was raped on repeated occasions and sodomized by a Boy Scout leader when he was 12, and told at the end of each experience of hell that these were initiations and all the boys go through it, but we don't talk about it. And I'm a child of the 60s, and so I didn't. So when I talk about to get people, and you get
sorry that you experienced that.
Thank you.
All right.
When again, I like to make things, as opposed to, you and I know what trauma is, but the people that we speak to in an audience may not have. I want to give people, again, something very tangible. So definition, I love definitions. So in the dictionary, severe and lasting. Incredible. The first two words in the definition. Severe and lasting emotional shock and pain caused by an extremely upsetting experience. Yes. But there's this quote from an amazing woman named Jane Levy, and here's how she describes trauma. Trauma fractures comprehension like a pebble shatters a windshield. The wound at the site of impact spreads across the field of vision, obscuring reality and challenging belief. And I'm like, oh, that is exactly right. Like, oh my God, yes, that's it. Like, what an amazing way to describe it. Like, yes, and people, like, whew, like, wow.
That very much so resonates with me, and it's an accurate description to feel like fragmented, like you're alive, but you're not collected. You're not able to function the most efficient way. Like you're alive, you're existing. You're existing. That's what it is. You're existing rather than thriving.
Yeah. And you're not even being. Yeah. Like you say, you're existing. That's a beautiful distinction, Honora. I think that's but and
I've experienced plenty of trauma. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just
that's not it's just existing sounds like it sounds closer to death than anything. It sounds closer to not living than anything. It's like being existing feels like I'm seeing other people live. I'm seeing other people be, and I can't be that. I'm isolated. I'm alive, but I'm not alive. That's awful. That's awful to feel imprisoned. And yeah, I experienced trauma and maybe every way that you can't, like every category of trauma. But I've found that the healing modalities that I leaned into, I don't feel traumatized anymore, if that makes sense. Like I don't feel the same way. I don't think the same way. I don't think the same way about myself either, which is the biggest piece of it all. Like I can think back to the traumas and create a different narrative, which is essential too. But I think my relationship with myself and my healing has changed so much that I know I could never go back to how I was. There's no going. That person is now gone. I mean, I'm just a new person now.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. What a magnificent. Just like that is wow.
And it's really I'm very grateful and I feel very blessed to have this experience, which I know a lot of people are suffering and desire this experience. But I'm saying this because it's achievable. I believe it's achievable. That's why I'm a trauma therapist. So I can provide this healing for other people or be a guide for other people. I've gone through years of talk therapy, traditional talk therapy, but I'm an EMDR therapist and I've gone through a lot of EMDR therapy. It's a trauma-based therapy. For everybody that doesn't know, EMDR stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. It's a trauma-based therapy that actually, well, I've said this before, all therapies target. Oh, do you want me to say it again? I'm sorry. Did you get it?
No. Oh, no, I know it. I'm very familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, all therapies target your subconscious, but I feel that in all of the healing that I've done, so meditation and meditation study, breath work, leaning into physical activity, all of the modalities, EMDR helped me heal the fastest. And it felt like it did feel like meditation. So perhaps that's why I was able to process trauma so quickly. I have this meditation background, and it was easy for me to get into those states of relaxation and visualization. Those those are key pieces. You're choosing an image of your trauma to desensitize the most traumatic image you can view. And you're either doing the eye movements, you're doing tapping. I enjoy this one most. Or on your thighs, there's clickers, there's different methods to complete the eye movements. But it's really bilateral stimulation. It's you're letting your brain, both sides of your brain, communicate, and your brain will naturally process the trauma when we're able to intervene. It's just stuck. It's stuck in our brain and our bodies, and it's just deteriorating things. It's like cancer. It's like a cancer.
No.
But yeah, I found the most healing through EMDR.
And I think, I mean, in a certain, not exactly, but there would be also a correlation with ECT for me, because you can do unilateral and you can do bilateral ECT. Mine has all been bilateral. And I think, I like to think of ECT being kind of like a remodeling crew that has gone in, and the damage that was done to the development of my 12-year-old brain. And then in all the decades between then and now, ECT's going and saying, you know what, it's time for a remodel. Let's go ahead and, because some of the things that I've been able to do in reframing a situation that is presented to me, I've never been able to do that before. And I've done, like you, I have done a lot of therapy that has all been incredibly beneficial. And yet there were still times that I was coming up short. And of late, I've noticed that I've been able to do things that have just, I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Just like, wow. I'm like, man, to reframe that situation, like, holy cow. I've always wanted to, but it's just like I've never been able to.
Sure. Oh, I was going to say, David, that's what you deserve. That's what you should experience.
No.
It's healing. I mean,
No.
if there's any purpose behind the trauma that you experience, if there's any I don't know what the reason could be. If it's nothing else but to be able to heal from it, my goodness, and tell people your story and help people heal from it. I mean, that's what you deserve. That's what you should have in life, is to have a healed life. Human beings are designed to evolve, to start and to adapt as well. But I don't feel like adaptation is the conveys the right message. Evolution is being and transmutation. We're designed to overcome adversity. That's kind of, to me, the core of life. I don't know anything else but overcoming adversity, because I just didn't have a choice. I just had to overcome poverty, overcome racism, overcome a number of things, all of the abusive relationships I've been in, all of the things that I've had to overcome have been challenging. But on the other end of it, I now have all of these skills I can pull from. I know I'm the most reliable person in my life. I know that there are effective ways for me to heal. And on the other end of the healing, though, there's like these gifts that I've been given. I mean, I'm giving the gift to myself. It's not, the healing looks like
Anera, did we freeze? I think we might have froze. All right, so I'm going to keep talking. Since we're talking about trauma, I want to tell this story. So I do a lot of work with the military, as mentioned. I think I mentioned it while we were recording. My eldest son, the youngest of four boys, my three brothers are the best men in the world. Sorry for everybody else. They're 6, 9, and 11 years older than I am. And I love them. I cherish them. I adore them. I worship my brothers. And as mentioned just a little while ago, we lost our father when I was just 7. And my eldest brother, who was 18 at the time, stepped in really from that moment on and has continued to this day to be my dad. And then he did 42 years in the Army, enlisted, and then became a 2-star general. And he is amazing. And so I do a lot of work with the military in trying to serve soldiers and trying to have the Army in particular look at different ways about suicide prevention, and teaching them ways to create connection. And so about a year ago, I was working with a battalion, and the battalion is about 500 to 600 soldiers of a particular Army unit, and they're led by Lieutenant Colonel. In this case, it was Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Traus. And been with him for 3 days and really got to know the colonel and really felt very, very connected. And at the end of the 3rd day, he called me he said, "David, would you please come to my office?" And I said, "Absolutely, sir." And so I went in, and he was at his desk, and I sat on the other side, and he said, "David, I cannot thank you enough for everything that you've shared over these last 3 days with my soldiers. Your perspective and what your experiences and your methods and made an enormous, enormous difference. But David, I got to tell you, I am so angry." And I was like, "Oh no." And I thought, did I overshare or something? He said, "David, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm not mad at you." I said, "Oh, wow." I said, "Sir, what? I don't understand." He said, "David, what happened to you in the Boy Scouts, I can't accept. David, I can't process that. I can't, there's just, I want to vomit at the thought of this." He said, "David, I was an Eagle Scout." He said, "David, the best parts of who I am, who I identify as a father, as a husband, as a battalion commander, as a leader in the Army, as a human being, I learned those in the Boy Scouts." And then he took his hand and he pulled out his wallet. And I'm like, I had no idea. And then he pulled out, looked like a credit card. And he could see that I was confused. And he turned the card and he said, "David, when you become an Eagle Scout, they give you one of these." And it was a card. And it's an Eagle Scout card. He said, "David, you've talked to any Eagle Scout, they have their card with them. Mine was given to me on November 3rd, 1998. He says, "David, every Eagle Scout has their card at all times. It symbolizes the importance of this achievement." And then he gave me the card and I held it and I'm just so, wow. And, I had this feeling that, having somebody be upset at what happened to you is, I don't know, there's power in that. And then Honora, I went to give the card back and he said, "No, you keep it. You've earned it." So Honora, that amazing man, in trying some way, he knew no other way to right a wrong, but to give me part of him. And I can't tell you, and it happened as recently as 2 weeks ago, how many times at the end of a speech that somebody will come up to me who is an Eagle Scout and pull out their wallet and pull out their card and show me their card. This is prevention. This saves lives. So
That's love.
That's incredible love. That's incredible love from Colonel Traus. And I text him all the time and I say, "Sir," and he's very humble, but I mean, those words, "No, you keep it. You've earned it." It's like, wow, man, whoo, that's good stuff.
We need that.
Oh.
That's just as important. And while all of the clinical terms we can say and all of the structure around therapy and all of that's relevant, but just basic human connection and giving and receiving and just freely loving each other is like what we need the most. I mean, mental health care is lacking in this country. It just is. There's not enough support for practitioners. There's not enough support for clients, which is also me. I'm also a client that needs therapy, you know, like the whole system is not supporting itself and our needs. But the flip side of that is people not being too afraid to connect with someone like that, to be vulnerable. And that to me, I feel like it's just as important as what I bring to the table as a therapist. Like, I'm sharing my life stories just like you are on a public platform so that people can know that they can overcome what they're experiencing. I'm allowing myself to be very vulnerable, although it's really hard to do. I have to talk myself into it sometimes because I'm so introverted, and I'm a very private person, but I have to kind of put that aside. You know, I know that there's value in what I'm doing and what you're doing and other people are doing. Sharing their personal experiences is so healing. It's so needed. It will change the world if we can all be a bit more vulnerable and a bit more compassionate.
I agree. I agree.
Such a beautiful story. We could talk about a couple of different things. This will be a heavy topic no matter what. But so I don't know what you know about me based on what's available publicly, but I train in martial arts. So I train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and wrestling. That's my background. Just for a couple of years, I've been doing that. My main focus now is on Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I found martial arts because I've been in a lot of abusive relationships before. This relationship that right before I started training was physically abusive, something that was fairly new to me. And I felt so vulnerable. Like I need to be able to trust that I can protect myself because the partner that I was with was putting me in danger. He broke my hand. There's a lot of things that happened. So my mind shifted to, I need to be able to defend myself. I have to do that. So I was looking for self-defense classes, not necessarily martial arts specifically, but just, some method to be able to protect myself. But then when I started the classes, I realized I was training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai and like those were the core of what we were learning. I was in an MMA gym. And then it clicked to me, like, science literature says martial arts helps to heal trauma. Will this work for me? Just because it's in the literature doesn't mean that we're human beings. We're all on a spectrum of expression. Like, just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it'll work for me. So I just said, let me lean into this and see what this is all about. So I was in the women's classes to begin with, and then I was invited to the all of the members classes, like the men's classes is what I'm trying to get at. Like, martial arts gyms are generally filled with men and not a ton of women. So I was invited to take those classes, and I learned that it's very true. Martial arts does help to heal trauma, and that's what I needed to create the show. I just like EMDR, I haven't found anything else that is as effective as that. It's very quick, because going into a martial arts gym, I didn't grow up training in martial arts. It's already intimidating to go to try something that I've never tried before. But I'm also, I wasn't born here. I was born in Texas. So I'm like newly like trying to scope out my area and get comfortable. This is pandemic time. And I'm a woman. I'm a woman in a martial arts gym. So it just was like really intimidating to take that step. But my life changed. I learned that there's a community of people that they're athletes, their minds are oriented in that direction of let's be disciplined, let's work on stuff, and let's have discussion. And so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is grappling, it's ground fighting. So that's the physical aspect, but understanding why a move works is also part of it. So having group discussion, we're now having kind of like a therapy session, like a group therapy session, talking about these moves and like how that makes you feel. Like, so it just kind of naturally transitioned into, well, this is therapy. And I found so much healing in it. I found the self-confidence I needed to talk publicly because of
that's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
For sure. Have you ever tried martial arts before? Have you ever tried anything?
I mean, years and years and years and years and years ago, yes. But I mean, I've done all kinds of different sports. I mean, from fencing to weightlifting to hockey, basketball, baseball, all different types of stuff. So, but never. And I did. And this would have been like back in the 70s, some form of karate, but nothing like what it is now.
Sure, yeah. Well, most kids get into karate. I mean, it's just so popular. Whatever. And again, I know that we're different ages, but I feel like, I mean, maybe from the 60s onward, like martial arts and film, that's just was part of my childhood, is to watch.
Oh, sure. Well,
things like that.
Well, yeah, Bruce Lee. I mean, was kind of the iconic image when you thought of martial arts. It was Bruce Lee.
Yeah, for sure.
What an amazing athlete! Like, oh my gosh.
So I never thought. I mean, that was just in the movies. I never thought, oh, I can actually do that. Like, that's amazing. It's really cool to watch it. If you've ever seen any jiu-jitsu before, like, it's very entertaining. If you've never seen it, please watch a match. But it doesn't seem like somebody could do that. Like, that just seems like people on a different level. But starting at the bottom, you're learning the basics and you're applying it in real time. So you're watching the move done by the instructor, and then you get to try the move. And then you get to discuss why this didn't work this way. Keep working on it. Like, it's small goals all the time. It's goal oriented, and you're in a community of people that are learning as well. And I mean, we're fighting each other for sure. Like, we're not like attacking each other, but we are. It's a combat sport. You're in a very vulnerable position, which I think adds to the healing. I'm being vulnerable with all of these men that could really hurt me, but they're not going to. Like, I feel safe enough to compete with them, like to fight them. So
right.
I found a lot of healing in that way. And I encourage you to look at some Brazil. You'll see it on my page. If you get on my social medias, there's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu everywhere. So yeah, I just wanted to share that bit of why I started my show, because I didn't really have the self-confidence beforehand. I think that we've talked enough about healing modalities, and I don't want to miss anything. I feel like I've rushed a little because I'm at my final question, but I want to give you space to ask me anything that you'd like, or share anything else that you'd like to share before I move on to that.
No, I feel complete. No, thank you so much.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we talked about it before, but I didn't ask you during the interview about your artwork. I would like to know more about your artwork, or my audience. Share it with my audience
Sure.
what your artwork is about.
So let's see, I gotta move out of the way this way. So in the middle is a flag that was created by a dear friend of mine when he was an elementary school teacher. His class made this flag, and in the middle of it, it said a chance for bliss, which was the name of the sanctuary. And that flag then in turn was taken to the very, very tippy top of Mount Kilimanjaro by a wonderful man named Paul Costello as part of a fundraiser for the sanctuary. And for those who don't know, Mount Kilimanjaro is over 20,000 feet up in the air. So around it, so at the bottom is a pencil, and it's a pencil drawing by my beloved mother, my late mother, Suzanne. And it's of a Boston Terrier named Wally. And Wally, when I met my former bride, Deanna, she had this Boston Terrier named Wally. And I had not been, dogs were a part of my life, but not a big focus of my life. And so, as I like to say, ours was a boy meets girl who has a dog story. And Wally became just my world. And we took Wally from California, where Dia and I were. We flew him on the inside of the aircraft back to Virginia, where my parents were. And Wally was just chilling outside of my parents' house. And my mom took a photo of it and then drew this picture with pencil. So when Wally passed away, we rescued a 12 and a 13-year-old brother-sister pair named Taffy and Feisty. They were Boston Terriers. We renamed them Chance and Bliss. And that's what started the whole, ultimately, Larry, my friend, whose class made the flag, when we had gotten to a certain number of animals and we needed a name, Larry was the one who says, dude, why don't you call it a Chance for Bliss? And I'm like, okay, great freaking idea.
Yeah.
So, so the next drawing, if you're looking at the flag to the left, is a piece of art by an artist, George Hunter, who we became very close to. And it just so happened. So what happened was we rescued Chance and Bliss, and we knew we were going to get a puppy because we wanted to have a puppy. And so we had found a breeder and got and picked out. And then I knew that I was going to call the puppy Hope. And so while we were waiting for Hope to be born, we came across this painting to my left or right, whichever side we're seeing. And it just so happens that painting is an exact depiction, just serendipitously or coincidentally, of Hope's mom. That's exactly how Belle looked. And Hope had one sister named Tootsie, who was black and white. Hope was more brown and white. So the chances were incredible. So then the picture on top is a picture of indeed Hope. And while at the same time that we got Hope as a puppy, Deanna found Harmony, who was a Boston that had been sold and then returned because she was 100% deaf. And Dee said, well, let's get her. So here's a guy that went from no dog to one dog. That dog dies, and now he has 4 dogs. So I have Chance, Bliss, Hope, and Harmony. And then the last picture is another picture by Mr. Hunter of these 2 Boston Terriers looking in a manger at like Christmas time. And again, the serendipity was those 2 Bostons in the picture are colored just like Hope and Harmony. So each picture has a great amount of meaning to me and to Deanna as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I don't know how to produce any art or that kind of art anyway, but
Me neither.
I have a lot of value. I put a lot of value in art and just expressing yourself. If it's not that, singing or dancing or something to express ourselves, because I think that brings a lot of connection, just like
It does.
shared.
I agree.
I have to say that I'm so grateful for the work that you've done, the stories that you've shared, and your nonprofit. Like I share that I love animals, but I mean that's the tip of the iceberg. Like that's not. We could spend another hour talking about animals. I spent a little bit of time taking care of a friend's dog, or dogs rather, in Texas for, I want to say, roughly a year. Maybe it was less time than that. Bobo and Benny, I love them. I think of them as people. Like I make such a connection with animals. Like, and no judgment on anybody. I love and accept everybody for your choices, but I am a vegetarian, and there is a, kind of respecting animals and only indulging in things that I think are good for me and for the planet. So no judgment on anybody else, but I adopted my dog, rescued my dog because of the connection I developed with my friends' dogs, and just knowing that I could be that close, like I could be that connected with an animal. Like I create a connection with, if I'm passing by and I see a horse, like, hey, like, but that it's different to raise an animal. Like so Rosie, my sweet dog, she has been through a lot of changes along with me, and she kind of developed some rashes that I couldn't figure out where they were coming from. And we did all this testing. I talked to all of these different vets. It took a long time to try to resolve this, but I ultimately decided it would be best to cook her food. I think it was her food. Like she was eating high quality dog food, but it didn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Just because people say it's good doesn't mean it's good for your dog. So I had the understanding that, processed food is not, having that for every meal is not ideal for any animal. We're animals too. So I started cooking her food, and I feel more connected with her than anybody. I mean, that's a love language for me to giving gifts or whatever. But the gifts that I like to give is cooking for someone, baking something, or just providing that for someone. It makes me feel very connected, but she feels like my child. This is my baby. Like it's not, from 7 weeks old to now 3.5, like that's a long time to spend every day with them. And I just am so grateful for the connection that I have with her, for sure.
Oh, I totally get it.
So thank you for everything that you've done. And I'm going to ask my final question, and
Okay.
yeah, and we'll end here. So the name of my show is Freedom to Fight. And my final question is, what does freedom mean to you?
Oh, wow. Great question. I think it encompasses a lot of things. I think freedom would be, I think freedom would be having enough of what's necessary so I may have freedom to choose what it is I want to do. And whatever that, so that may be, that could be health, that could be finances, whatever that is. I just to have, I'm not looking for a surplus. I think when I was younger, that it was like, it's accumulation. I don't like to think about, when I go out and speak, I'm paid to speak, and that's the way I support my family, but I don't put the two things together. I never think about money when I'm talking. I would love, and maybe there'll be a point in my life where I don't have to charge to speak, but that's a whole nother thing. But the freedom to have enough of what is necessary so I can freely choose that which I want to do.
That's beautiful. I am going to jump onto your definition. I think maybe that's the definition, at least for me.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it's so true. So I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The bottom is that pyramid. That bottom is our basic needs, like our safety and food and water. And at the very, very top is self-actualization.
Right.
Well, And you can't get to the top without making sure all of the other needs are met. You need to have safety and security and enough food, like all of those at the right quality for you to be able to break through and evolve. So that's you just said it. I was preaching that or whatever. That was my point of focus in my graduate program. If people don't have housing or access to enough food, the right food, clean water, community, being connected with people that truly care about us, like there's no way for us to keep living in that section, you know, of that space that we were stuck in, and we can't get beyond that. Our needs have to be met. So I guess what I want to say before we end here is just I hope that everybody kind of thinks about that when they think of homelessness or somebody struggling with addiction or somebody struggling and with mental illness in general. If you're wanting people to heal, we have to give them the right tools. We have to show up for them. Our governments have to provide all of us. It's not just somebody else's job. It's all of our job to provide what our communities need, rather if it's just giving ourselves what we need or provide, or if you have enough to provide to others. I mean, that's how we grow. That's how we get better.
So there's a great book, many great books. This is called Rethinking Suicide by Dr. Craig Bryan, who's amazing. And one of the things that Dr. Bryan says is, well, here, I'll quote him. I don't have to he's a brilliant man. And what he talks about is that to do suicide prevention well, we have to do more than just stop people from dying. We have to make life worth living. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on, and this really, I know is exactly what you said. Creating lives worth living requires the collective effort of many people working together and sharing a sense of responsibility. That's exactly what you just said.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You and Dr. Bryan saying the same thing.
And you. That was your definition of safe, to have all your needs met, you know? And so it's just like, it's just imperative for us to look at that. It's not somebody else's job. Somebody shared with me, if there's a domestic violence situation, that's their problem. Like, no, this is a human problem. If you're seeing someone being attacked, or at all, whatever you can do, it's just simply calling the police anonymously. Like, we have to act. That's what we're missing. We're doing a lot of talking. We've got to act on our beliefs.
Well, and see, now you're going to make me quote something else. So I get a wonderful email every day. It's called Grateful Living. And this is, you must know Maya Angelou, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So I tell this, she says, there's no greater agony than bearing the weight of an untold story. So that's one of her. So here's what the great one says on today's thing, which again is what my beloved friend Anura is talking about. Continue to be who and how you are to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness.
Wow.
I tell you what, I would like to wash her car or something. Can I just wash your car? Just I'll vacuum it. Because I'd have to think, because your essence is going to be in it. If I could just spend maybe like a half an hour or so cleaning it, I know I'm going to be a better human being. Like, please.
But I know there's a quote, but I don't know the quote. So I'll do my best to articulate this. What you see in other people is in you. It's not just the outside world. You have the same essence within you. And even if it's not developed to be this beautiful poet, that doesn't mean you're disconnected from that. If you want to be that, you can. You just have to take the steps. The intention has to be there and the action has to be there. But it's in you too.
Thank you. I've been blessed and continue to be blessed by extraordinary human beings in my life. I mean, my psychiatrist, I tell him every time I talk to him how much I love him, and he says, I love you too.
I think
He's
so much.
he's
I love when men tell each other they love each other. So
he's my guy. I actually had 2 psychiatrists, and I love them both, and they both tell me how much they love me and how proud they are.
hey, we all do that.
It's cool stuff. Oh my gosh.
I'm
Amazing.
so grateful to be connected with you. I wish I could.
I know. I give you a big old hug. You're gonna be happy with me because I'm gonna send you by email a link to a 6-minute video of the sanctuary.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just so beautifully done. It was just so great. So you'll get a chance of what it was like a day in the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for coming on my show, and of course we'll be connected, and I'll share all your details in the
Please just
description. And yeah, thank you again for everything. Thank you for coming on my show.
absolutely. Thank you, darling.
Thank you so much for listening and for supporting me. I have a lot of new content to share with you, new episodes, new projects, all sorts of things. So thank you for being patient and following my journey. I will link in the description the ways that you can support me. I got my Patreon back up and running. Of course, you can send a donation to either my PayPal or my Venmo. I will soon be able to start subscriptions, but I'm a little shy of followers on YouTube and on Spotify. So if you haven't already, subscribe to my channels, Freedom to Fight, all over YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, all of the platforms. And yeah, I will be sharing some new content soon. If you'd like to find David, I will also link his info in the description so you can check out his TED Talks and his sanctuary and just be connected with such a great person. Thank you so much for listening, and see you again soon.